Hi, my name is Brittany and this is Abby. This video is being created for a component of the EDU 580 class that is at Georgetown College. Both Abby and I are secondary teachers here in South Central Kentucky. We teach at two different schools. We are two different contents, two different grade levels, but we are also similar in that our schools have low population of ESL students. So the goal of this video is to identify the two assessments that ESL students will be administered when they go into ESL education, and we'll also talk about WIDA and the Can Do Descriptors and how we can use that in the classroom. The goal audience for this video are new teachers or teachers that have little or no background in ESL education and are just looking for some tips and points on how to meet the needs of their ESL students in their classroom. So let's first start off with the two assessments that your students will be administered when they go into ESL education. The first is the WAP test and the second is the access test. The WAP test is administered first. It is an indicator of how they're going to perform on the access test. The access test is usually taken around January. It depends on your school district and your school and snow days. But basically what that assessment is going to assess is the student's proficiency level in the four language domains, which is reading, writing, speaking, and listening. The results will be given back on a numeric scale of 1 to 6, 1 being low proficiency and 6 being a high proficiency level in English language. So Abby, as a secondary language arts teacher, why do you think it's critical for educators to know those proficiency levels, and specifically for their ESL students?
Well, I think it's important to realize English language learners are no different than our mainstream students. So as educators, we have to really know where our students' academic levels are. Yet with our mainstream students, we're also, not also monitoring their English language acquisition. ESL students are not only learning content like our mainstream students, but are also acquiring a second language. As teachers, we must know and monitor both areas of development, and to monitor their development, we must first know where they are beginning.
Yeah, exactly. So just like you said, we first have to know what they can do and what they cannot do, and that's based on their second language development and proficiency. So assessing those ESL students and that language proficiency is vital to providing content knowledge and engaging lessons, especially at a level that they can achieve. My favorite part of the WIDA standards are the MPIs, and that's the Model Performance Indicators. Basically, the MPIs describe what an ESL student should be able to do based on their Access or WAP assessment score, that level of 1 to 6 for English language proficiency. Just like you said, you've got to know first where they are and what they can do before you can start to monitor progress and support development. But the next thing are the Can Do Descriptors. Do you have any idea what you might think the Can Do Descriptors are?
Well, based on my linguistics background, I'm going to assume that these descriptors tell teachers what an ESL student can do based on their Access or WAP scores.
Yeah, so you would probably definitely score a level 6 on the Access test based on your linguistics knowledge and how to decode text in the English language. But in all seriousness, you are right. The Can Do Descriptors are basically a tool that teachers can use to tell you what your students should be able to do based on their English level proficiency. Very easy to use. It's like a matrix or a coordinate plane. As long as you know that student's language proficiency level, that 1 to 6 scale that they get on the Access test, and you are looking at whatever domain you want to use, that reading, writing, speaking, or listening, you will just follow the dots, find a box, and it will tell you exactly what that student should be able to do in your content area based on that language domain. So how do you think you could use the data and the Can Do Descriptors in your classroom?
Well, we just created a very useful document, I would say, with the Can Do Descriptors. Not only could I quickly identify what my students should be able to do based on their language proficiency, but they've also created the opportunity for me, a non-ESL teacher, to address language development.
Right.
Using these two documents, I guess I'd be able to create not only content learning objectives, I can statements or learning targets, whatever your school uses, but I could also, create language objectives specifically for my ESL students.
Yeah, so that's the exact mission of WIDA and what they encompass and what they are trying to address in the classroom. Regardless if you're a mainstream content teacher like ourselves with not a whole lot of ESL training background, or you are a trained ESL teacher, you are accountable. not only for teaching all students that specific content, your language arts or biology, but also supporting the second language development and proficiency of your ESL students in your classroom.
Yeah, I mean, learning about WIDA and how you incorporate it in the classroom, I feel a little bit more comfortable to share about ESL education to other teachers in my building now. Beforehand, I didn't really feel comfortable sharing information about ESL education because I had very little training due to the low ESL population in my district. However, WIDA has made educating ESL students seem a little less frightening with their Can Do Descriptors.
Right. So I cannot agree more with you. I feel much more comfortable in the classroom to talk about WIDA, Can Do Descriptors, and use that assessment tool from the WACT and the Access Test. So I want to thank you for sharing your time to discuss some of the CSL education, the WACT, and the Access Test, as well as how to use those assessment scores in the classroom and coming up with those Can Do Descriptors. But more importantly, how to come up with those language objectives using your unique skill development of your student. So that's going to be it for this video. Check back with us later for more ESL education tips and points to use in the mainstream classroom with some mainstream teachers. See ya!